What's up, everyone? Hope you all had a lovely new year, and today we're going to be taking a look at Mythic Uldir finally. Now, there are so many things in this fight I want to cover, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in with our perennial 2-second pull. I'm going to be running the first orb here as we wait for it to spawn. This is the standard thing that we do on normal and heroic, taking the gate, charging to our focused Sis that will stay focused for the entire fight. And now I'm going to be getting a whisper from our monk tank on the other side, and we got to drop these orbs at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and jump down here and kick this Cyclopean Terror, and we're going to save our cooldowns and chunk this thing down because I want to be blade storming on these two Gahoons that spawn at this moment every single time, because these are the main mechanic of the first phase and most of the fight, really, is dealing with these little Gahooni worms. They are top priority. Nothing else really matters at this point except killing these things before they get out of hand and wipe your entire raid. So we're going to go ahead and jump on over to these two and wait for this to spawn, which is the big great white worm here. And I have one job during this first phase, which is to kick his cast at the very end there and make sure that doesn't go off. And I'm moving out here for the cotton balls that spawn randomly on people and dodging these. Now, I don't really care so much about actually getting the little Gahoon worms on me at this point. If it happens, it happens. My main focus is to make sure that the Blight Spreader doesn't get off a cast, because that will be a wipe. Now, if you notice there, I did go ahead and grab that last Dark Bargain off the Dark Young there, which is the big purple circle. Now, that was because I wanted the versatility buff going into this beam phase, because I wanted to have the damage bonus for the Blade Storm on all the little Gahooni ads. And this is why, if you get infested by these guys, it doesn't really matter beforehand. It does matter now, because we're going to go ahead and clean up all these going into the next phase. Now, they have top priority. Fortunately, we did get one infest, so we got to go over here and deal with the two Gahoons going into the next phase, but it's not a big deal, only a couple of them. I'm going to get these down already. Now, you do have to be spread out here because of that wave coming in. Now, you really want to be paying attention to that throughout the entire fight, because that will give you an extra debuff stack, and that ramps up really fast if you're not paying attention. We're going to go ahead and use our Warbreaker immediately on cooldown again there on Gahoon himself. Now, if you noticed, I'm looking around here because I've got the weak aura that's saying, or yelling rather, soaking above my head, and that's to soak the two Sis that spawn in Mythic now. And just making sure that we're in good positioning for that. And we're going to go ahead and everybody's going to stack up on red, the X marker behind me there. Now, that's to bait out this blood feast for this little ad that spawns here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stand in that because I'm going to be doing my second orb run in about 30 seconds. Now, if you noticed, when this ad spawns, we got to cleave it down. However, I didn't use my Blade Storm. I did use Warbreaker on it there. Excuse me, and we're going to go ahead and pop Sweeping Strikes and cleave it as much as possible. But I'm saving my Blade Storm for my next orb run. Now, if you noticed, I got my Whisper from the previous person that it was my time to go, and I didn't go immediately because I've been watching my debuff in the upper right-hand corner for the orb. Now, I've got it timed down from where the boss is positioned and how long it takes me to run up. If I wait till about 16 seconds and turn around and start running up here, my orb buff will time out right about the time that I get to it, and that'll let me do my second orb run here. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump over into D stance for this because you don't want to be taking any unnecessary damage. Get our Whisper from our tank, drop the orb, start the second beam. Right here is really dangerous for me. You have to communicate with your healers on this very specific spot because you can die very often there if you don't have D-stance up and healers ready to top you off. Now, we're going to go ahead and save our Warbreaker once again for when that big ad dies to get all the Gahoons down in time. Now, I did get infested immediately when one spawned there. Not a big deal, though. We got so much pressure on him right here. Now, you want to be immediately spread out again going into this phase because he'll instantly set out that wave. Now, I don't have any more orb runs for the rest of the fight, so I can be pretty liberal with soaking these Sis that spawn. Now, you definitely want to be paying attention to that as much as possible. It does get a little hairy at the end, but, you know, what can you do? And from this point on, I'm going to be in my quadrant, which is right to the left of the X here. Now, I'm going to move over anytime that I can to try and get a soak off. There's already two people to my right and plenty to my left, so I realized that I didn't need to be over here anymore. And I'm not going to stand in this circle because this is only for the next couple of orb groups that will be running. I will, however, go ahead and pop my Blade Storm here on it to cleave it down to get that cooldown running again. Now you have to be careful cleaving it because that wave goes out right there, and we want to be spread again for that. But it is okay to go ahead and Blade Storm that, even though all the little ads are going to spawn. Now, I did get really low there because we've got a lot of stacks at this point, which is unfortunate. But it's something that we're planning on, and as long as you're not stacking up prematurely and taking extra knockback stacks, then it's okay, because we're going to be baiting out to the red marker again here, because we are going to, everybody's going to clear on this next Blood Feast. Now, if you noticed, I did move over there to Warbreaker all the little Gahoonies and try and get them down as fast as possible, but it's not that big of a deal. The reason why we go ahead and Blade Storm the ad itself when it first spawns there is because it's going to be up again for this right here, the laser beam. And we're going to save it if it's not there quite yet until the, what's he called, the gibbering horror goes down. And we're going to go ahead and do it now with the Warbreaker to chunk down all these Gahoons during this phase. Now, we're all going to be cheating to the right side of the boss here to get to our green marker, because coming out of this laser beam is going to be the collapse phase. Now, right here, you might as well pop in a D stance and not do anything, because you're not doing any damage to the boss. Now, if you notice, I was trying to click on the lock gate there, but occasionally it gets a little lost in the cluster, so we're going to go ahead and just use our Heroic Leap. Normally, I would like to have it to just jump to the back of the room here and help mitigate as much damage as possible. We're going to go ahead and drop SLT in Darkness and pop our Vantus runes at this point. Or not Vantus rune, the Augment runes, if you haven't already. Going into this last phase, because you got a good shot at, killing it at this point. Now, I do see the two Siths on the side there, and we got to soak those, but we also have to pay attention to the pizza slices, or the Siths on the ground at this point as well. And they're going to be the main death of your raid in this phase, in the final phase, is those pizza slices on the ground. If you notice, that first fear goes out. I'm going to go ahead and pop Berserker Rage for that. Now, ideally, I would have Blade Storm for the second fear going out, so I wouldn't have to worry about it either, but depending on how lucky you are with procs and rage generation and crits on your autos, you might have to go ahead and burn your Blade Storm during this phase, just for, smoother rage pool. Now, these Siths, if you notice, I do try to move back, and you will lose uptime occasionally. Trying to minimize that as much as possible, of course, on this last burn phase. We did pop Lust, by the way, after the first wave, but once in a while, you just have to move out, and we're going to look away for the Fear. Unfortunately, did take an extra stack there, and we're going to lose uptime on the boss, but these Siths don't mess around. The AoE on him is bigger than the actual graphic itself, which gets really scary sometimes, and I learned that the hard way. You want to cheat as close as possible on so many fights in this game, but these you really can't mess with, because even getting hit by one is pretty much an instant death. We're going to go ahead and Berserker Rage that Fear in that minute window there that came back up. Now, I can't soak here, and I'm right in between both of them. I'm just hoping that everybody gets to the correct positioning to be in the spot to soak those for me so I don't get MC'd. I'm going to go ahead and rally here because I noticed everybody was getting a bit low, and we're getting down to the wire. Now, we got to watch out for the cotton balls again here, just like in Phase 2. See, people usually forget about that. Now, when I looked away for that Fear there, I actually go ahead and use my Warbreaker, since you don't have to be facing the boss for the AoE. Once again, we lose a little bit of uptime, but it's way more important to do that than dying to these Siths. Now, I do die right after that anyway, but you could cut the tension with a knife coming down to the end here, and then we finally get our cutting-edge Gahoon before the next raid comes out. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you very soon.
Burn him.
Oh my god,
everything healing.
Oh, good job, boys.
Oh my
heart right now.
Oh my god.
Dude, my heart was
Yo, I wasn't even looking at his fucking mouth. I was just like, keep healing.
Need to mark Shirley so I can run over and bandage him when we hit 1%. Everyone run over, bandage him.